Welcome to the Sustainable Success Show, where we share real-world ideas, strategies, and systems to help you build success that lasts in business and life. Each episode delivers practical insights you can apply immediately without burnout, chaos, or short-term fixes that don't scale. At the foundation is emotional intelligence and effective communication, how you lead yourself and how you connect with others across personalities, generations, and cultures, because that's where trust, engagement, and performance are created. I'm Christopher Salem, your host, and this is where sustainable success becomes your competitive advantage. All right, welcome to the Sustainable Success Show. I'm your host, Chris Salem. Hope you're having a great week. We want to welcome any new guests that have found us here. Again, we want to encourage you to follow us on our YouTube channel at Christopher R. Salem. Also on Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. You could also listen to the show there from an audio standpoint. And we encourage you to follow us at all of those areas, or any the one particular that you would like to listen to the show every week. We want to thank our loyal listeners that have been with us now for over 9 years. Again, we've recently, back earlier this year, went to a new platform, but yet we're still delivering the same high quality of content that we always have, bringing in subject matter experts to help elevate you and your business to the next level. Today's show is being brought to you today by Alumni Direct. Alumni Direct is a social media community platform dedicated to bringing alumni together from all different generational types and an opportunity to meet new people for the first time. Now, it takes out all the noise out of social media. You get to generate genuine and authentic relationships with the people you choose to interact with. If you'd like some more information about Alumni Direct, check them out at alumnidirect.com. That's alumnidirect.com. Well, I'm so excited today. We're going to be talking about a topic that, we've covered a long time ago, but this is something that is very, very important, quite powerful, and many high performers have used it. And you're going to be talking to someone who's worked with professional and amateur athletes, amongst other high performers. And we're going to be talking about hypnosis. It's not what you think. Okay? So let that sink in. It's not what you think. Well, guess what? Stay tuned, because you're going to find out a little bit more about hypnosis and how it can really benefit you and where you are and where you'd like to be in your business. We're going to be here with our guest today, Karen Ross. She is a performance mindset expert and uses dynamic guided visualization, solution-focused coaching, hypnotherapy to help clients break through mental barriers so they perform at a higher level. While she has a strong niche with athletes of all ages, executives, entrepreneurs, and other high achievers to overcome anxiety, sharpen focus, strengthen confidence, and unleash peak performance in both life and business. Her diverse background, from executive search to interviewing renowned thought leaders on her former Chicago radio show, has sharpened her ability to quickly connect with people and uncover what truly drives their success. Karen uses a variety of processes based on what will most benefit her clients. This work can include hypnosis, and many are surprised to learn that the practice of hypnosis has been used by icons like Chicago's own Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, Albert Einstein, and now used at renowned institutions like the Mayo Clinic and Cleveland Clinic. Wow. Well, we're going to find out more about this today, and without further ado, we welcome Karen Ross to the show. Karen, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, and I appreciate you having me on today, Chris. Those were a lot of words that but all important, and
Yes.
really does tackle the title of today. And the title of Hypnosis, Not What You Think, can take on a couple of different meanings. So it will be interesting to explore that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's, dive a little, before we get into what you're going to be sharing today, let's talk a little bit about, from the foundational level. You've been doing this for quite some time, and you're an expert in this area. Talk about the evolution of, how you got involved in all this, into hypnosis, and how you've been, working with athletes and now, entrepreneurs and business leaders to help them unlock these things inside of them that they really haven't tapped to their full potential.
Well, if you've got a couple of hours, I'll tell you everything.
We got to squeeze it into a short period of time.
And that's what I'll do my best to do. But I am going to go back many, many years. My father was a psychologist. And at one point, he added hypnosis to his practice. So I was exposed to it many, many years ago. I cannot say that at that time I decided, oh, I want to do this one day. That was not the case. But I went on to do some of the things that you mentioned in your lovely introduction. And then about 15 years ago, got involved as a personal coach. And that was a turning point for me in my own life and career. And I hired a coach. And coaching was just starting to be accepted and actually acknowledged as a viable process. And then it was about 10 years later that I was introduced to a particular program that focused on athletes, and its foundation was based on hypnosis. I liked the program, but I didn't feel a connection to athletes. I'm not one, never have been, and I can't say I've been surrounded by them all my life like some, but I really liked this program. And I thought, well, why can't the same ideas be used with entrepreneurs and artists, stage performers, executives? They could be used with anyone. So I actually met with the creator of the program and she agreed. She said, absolutely, they could be used with anyone who wants to increase their performance. And so I went ahead and got that certification. And it wasn't until about a year ago that I thought, well, why don't I just focus on athletes and see what happens? And things really shifted. I started getting some very direct introductions to, in my case, many of the athletes I've been working with have come through their parents, their fathers, actually, who have heard me speak, or we've met in networking, or some kind of a situation where they've concluded, I want you to work with my son. And it has been more so. I'm not adverse to working with women, happy to do that. But lately it has been young men. And I have been so impressed with their level of integrity and just really, really wanting to be their best in all aspects of their life. So that is a very short version of how I got to here where I am today.
Thank you for sharing. That was great. And now that we dive into the topic, when people think about hypnosis, a lot of times, hypnosis can be used for fun. There's, I mentioned I connected to a friend of mine, Steve Tubman, who's used hypnosis for entertainment, but yet he also uses it in a very serious manner. Let's talk about hypnosis and what are some of the things like what people think versus what really is, and what can it do to really unlock those hidden triggers in our mind, I guess our subconscious mind that can bring out our best.
Uh, you're absolutely right. And there are two schools of hypnosis, if you will, maybe more than that. But from our perspective today, there is the stage hypnotist, and then there is the person like myself who works with hypnosis to help someone make the positive changes in their life that they want to make. I did meet Steve, and what a delight. And you're right, he's used it both ways. He has used it as an entertainment, but then has carried it over to helping people make substantial change in their life. I have not chosen to move in the direction of stage hypnosis, but have incorporated it into my solution focused coaching. And my goal is always to help someone find a solution to whatever the issue is that they might be dealing with. And to be focused on the solution and not the problem. A lot of people come into a coaching or a therapy situation and they just want to talk about the problem. Well, my philosophy is the more you talk about the problem, the bigger the problem gets. You're giving the attention to the problem, and yes, we have to identify it and acknowledge it, but then let's talk about the solution and how do we move toward the solution and away from the problem. Um, but I hope I answered your question. Didn't take too long to do it, but
Yeah.
yeah, there's a distinction between some stage hypnotists are. I don't like some of it because it does make often people look silly,
Yeah.
and that is what some people think of when they consider what hypnosis
That's
is.
it. Yeah, they don't see that what's necessary. So let's talk a little bit more about unpacking hypnosis. That, is it, did they do it one time? Is it over a period of time? And how it can, again, unlock some of those, blocks or barriers, and where now they can really really take what they're working on to a whole new level they never imagined.
Sure. Well, I like to tell people that change can take place in three different ways. It can be immediate, and I've certainly had that experience with clients. It can be gradual, which is more typical, and over time and over a few sessions. And it can also be retroactive. You can have a few sessions and you think, well, nothing's changing, nothing's happening. And then suddenly one day it's like, oh my God, such and such is different. And I consider that retroactive. The work's being done. Your subconscious is absorbing the information to make the change. And it just doesn't happen that suddenly. So it can happen in one of those ways. Um, Sometimes one of the things I like to help people do is to uncover a belief that was formed at some time in their life. Could have been when they were a toddler. And I had a client like that. We discovered a belief that he formed about a particular behavior when he was 2 years old. And he was able to say immediately, that's crazy. I don't need to believe that anymore, and he can change the belief. And people just don't always understand that it can be that immediate, can be that simple. Um, then, on the other hand, it might take a little bit more digging and just find out, why we think a certain way. But anything can be changed. Anything can be changed. And the basic process is quieting the conscious mind. So when we say hypnosis, not what you think, we think with our conscious mind, and our conscious mind never shuts up. It's always talking to us. And when we quiet it, we can then access the power of the subconscious mind. And that's where beliefs live. That's where understanding lives. The subconscious mind is there to support us and help us in whatever we're attempting to achieve at the moment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And, walk us through, maybe an athlete you've worked with. You don't have to name the name, of course, or even a high level entrepreneur, like a process that you went to kind of help them overcome maybe a self-limiting belief or a barrier that was preventing them to going to that level. Anything you feel that would be worthwhile for the audience to hear.
Sure. Uh, One thing that has been pretty prevalent with athletes and can absolutely apply to executives, entrepreneurs, performers, that they're typically the people that come to me are already high achievers. They've reached a level of excellence in what they're doing, and that almost makes it worse if something goes wrong. If they make a mistake, if they are a basketball player and they miss the last shot, and the golfer that just doesn't quite make that next score, they can find themselves spiraling down into a process, a thought process that is nothing but damaging. It's very negative. It can become very dark. And that will keep them from correcting whatever they need to correct or learn from whatever mistake that might have been made. So the effort there is to catch those thoughts as quickly as possible and shift them. And it's not always shifting to the opposite. Sometimes it's just shifting away from that negative thought onto something completely different so that the subconscious mind is getting the message that's not the way we want to think. That's not what we want to believe. But if we allow that spiral to continue, then that is the message the subconscious gets is, oh, I guess he really kind of wants to hold on to this negative attitude. So does that make sense?
Totally makes sense. Yes, absolutely. And do you feel like is hypnosis the same process for everyone, or is it personally tailored, or it can work with certain people, some may not, that type of thing?
Yeah, some people will say, oh, I can't be hypnotized. Well, I beg to differ from the standpoint that we're all hypnotized. We're all in trance at one time or another throughout our days. And we just don't recognize it as such. And you walk into a store and you see a certain walking pattern on the floor. Well, it puts you in that kind of a trance. You actually enter a trance for a short period of time. I've said to people, if you get on an airplane and your pilot does not get into the trance of flying that plane, you don't want to be on that plane. You want that focus to be very, very clear. And it is specific to your question. Some people do go into trance more deeply and more quickly than others. Some may come away and say, well, I didn't feel anything. I wasn't in any kind of a trance.
Yeah.
They will always say, I don't know when I've ever been that relaxed. And so that that says something. And even though they may think that, and you don't use the word hypnosis if you don't like the word.
Sure.
Uh, you mentioned
Speak with the results.
exactly. And one of the phrases that you mentioned that I've started to use more, excuse me, is a dynamic guided visualization. And there are some hypnotists that would take issue with that description, but if it's more comfortable to think of it that way, um, it's very effective. And that absolutely captures the attention of the subconscious mind. And that's where the change takes place.
I love it. Love it. Great. And I hope listeners, you can see that, hypnosis is, something that, again, this is something that can complement your performance, your skills, your personality, all of the above. It's connecting the dots and seeing it as a tool, something that can complement what you already do best, and maybe perhaps keep you from not focusing on what you don't do best and not spending that as much time there. No, I love that. Love that. And do you feel like, hypnosis, Karen, is not only could benefit an individual, but, could benefit even a team. When I say a team, it doesn't have to be a sports team. It could be like it could be just could be like, let's say if it's a mid-sized company and they have like a team of, I don't know, 20, 30 sales professionals on the team, that it could be something that could work effectively with them, in optimizing sales.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, it's not going to be as specifically tailored to the individual but it absolutely can be very effective. And I do want to point out there's a wonderful story in the world of sports. In 1983, the Chicago White Sox actually hired a personal hypnotist to work with every one of the team players. They made the playoffs for the first time that year, first time in 25 years. So I'm the work. I understand. It was interesting. One day I was talking to somebody and I mentioned that, and they said, I knew that hypnotist. And I said, really? The guy was in New York at the time. And he said, yeah, I knew him. And he said the name, and I recognized the name. That person is no longer here. I'd love to talk to that person. But I'm sure that they not only worked with the individuals, but I'm sure they also worked with the team as a group. So it absolutely, and that's how I approach my practice is what is needed, whether it is an individual or a team. It's to meet their goals, not mine. I don't have a preconceived notion of what it's going to look like working with a particular person or group. But it's what presents itself as mostly needed.
Yeah. And I guess, when, hypnosis is applied and now you can measure to see what's working, better as a result of it, tracking in this case, then I get, then obviously it's working. It's worth, exploring more and perhaps using a little bit more frequently to, get them beyond certain limitations or get around certain challenges that they may be facing that have kept them down or, keeping them from not overcoming them, and how now in this case it can help them to overcome it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I teach people tools to use on their own. I mean, I can't be there all the time, and I really want them to understand how effective those tools can be and that they have access to them whenever they need them, whether they only have 30 seconds to just pause, take a deep breath, and with practice, they will learn how to get themselves into a particular state that is a state of hypnosis, and it doesn't matter how long it lasts or where you are. So it can work that easily, that effortlessly.
So true. So true. And listeners, again, we want to make sure that you go back and listen to this episode again, just in case if you maybe will hear something that Karen shared that now it might be, well, oh, wow, that stuck out for me. So just make sure, again, go back and listen to the show. We've had a lot of breakthroughs here on this show over the years for people that go back and listen to the episode again, not just once, but twice, especially for around these types of topics that are very, very important. And oftentimes people just assume and speculate what it does and what it can help you with. That's why Karen's here to kind of break it down and make it specific, clear, concise, and tie it back to what's important. And that's results in with you and in your business. Karen,
And I certainly,
yeah,
well, I'm sorry, I was just going to say, I invite complimentary conversations to make sure it's a match. Maybe this isn't the right approach for you, but let's at least have that conversation and make that determination, see how you feel.
absolutely. What else can you share as we get near the end of the show here that we have not covered that you feel is necessary to share to connect the dots to bring this topic full circle?
Well, I think the evidence, as you mentioned, a number of very famous people have credited hypnosis with taking them over that edge, giving them the competitive edge, the mental edge to reach the level of success that they have had. Um, I don't know if I have time to tell a real quick story about another client. Do I have time for that?
Yeah, if it takes like a minute and a half, sure.
I
Absolutely.
working with a retired physician who just wanted to improve his golf game. So he wasn't looking to become a pro or anything like that. But I asked him, and I am shortening this. I said, what is a score you just love to make? What's your dream score? And he gave me a number, and then he started laughing. I said, well, what are you laughing at? He said, I will never golf that score. And he just laughed. Well, about 6 to 8 months after we stopped working together, I got a text from him with a picture of his scorecard. He had just completed a game with his foursome, and he had played that score that he had laughed and said, I will never golf that score. And interestingly, he did it again the next day. So there's more to that story, but I think the result certainly is there. And just knowing, how it's been used so effectively by so many people. And just invite people to make contact with me and have a conversation.
As we're now near that time, and I want to thank you for sharing that story, and we encourage everyone to, we're going to give you an opportunity to reach out to Karen so she can even share more insights that would align to what's important to you. Before we do so, Karen, we want to thank you personally, not only for myself, but the rest of the people here for the Sustainable Success team for taking the time out of your schedule to be with us here today and share this information.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. And I know we've talked a lot about athletes, but hey, if you're an executive, you're a sales professional, an entrepreneur, doctor, dentist, whatever, these same concepts can be applied.
Absolutely. With that being said, if you can share with the audience, what is the best way to get in contact with you? What are you up to and anything that you'd like to share or provide them?
Well, my website is very easy. It's KarenRossNow.com. And they can go to my website and have more than they would want opportunities to click and schedule a call with me, or they can email me directly, info@KarenRossNow.com.
Great. And everybody will make sure that all of Karen's contact information is in the show notes. So no matter if you're accessing us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, iHeart, Amazon Music, it does not matter. All that information will be in the show notes for you to contact her. And for any reason you reach out to us, we will make sure to connect you with Karen. So Karen,
Thanks, I appreciate that.
Yes, thank you so much for taking the opportunity to be with us here again, and we appreciate you.
Thank you. And I appreciate you, Chris. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. And thank you, listeners, each and every week. We appreciate you. Again, if you would like to see content that we have not covered on a future show, feel free to reach out to our team here at Chris@sustainablesuccess.net. That's Chris@sustainablesuccess.net. We'd be more than happy to entertain for a future show. Again, we want to encourage everyone, again, to subscribe to our channels on Apple, Spotify, as well as YouTube. We also have Amazon Music and iHeart as other alternatives, and also our Facebook page at Sustainable Success 2017. We want to thank you, everybody, for being here. And again, we hope you received a lot of value. Again, we'll be back next Friday, same time, 12 noon East Coast time, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Till then, everybody, have a great rest of your day and take care.